You're watching Public Eye, brought to you by the New Vision Movement. And now, here's your host, Dr. Frank McField.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Public Eye. I'll be your host this evening. I am Martha McField Dunbar, the youngest sister of Dr. Frank and Beulah McField. Tonight we will be interviewing Beulah, find out a little bit about her and her Rehoboth Ministries after-school program and some of the other affiliated programs that she has as well. Beulah, good evening.
Good evening, Martha. It's really nice to be here with you. It's wonderful to have you here with me tonight. How do you feel about being on Public Eye?
Nervous. But as you know, I have always avoided the limelight, but happy to pitch in and help out the family whenever, wherever. Okay. And always glad to be here and stand by you and Frank. Very proud of you.
Thank you. We're proud of you too.
Well, tonight we want to talk a little bit about Rehoboth Ministries.
Yes.
One of the things a lot of people, I don't think, realize how far back Rehoboth came from, what it started with, and the vision that it started with. How much you sacrificed to get that place off the ground. Mm-hmm. The other thing is how much your children suffered to get that ministry up and off the ground.
Yes.
And just what a blessing the place has become. If you could tell us a little bit more about Rehoboth and where its roots come from.
Rehoboth Ministries really, truly was a vision from God. The name Rehoboth comes from Genesis 26, and it is the well that Isaac dug. Actually, it's the third well. Isaac dug 2 wells before digging Rehoboth, and on both of the occasions, there was a lot of strife and a lot of fighting, and he didn't argue and fight back. Isaac simply closed up the well and moved on. And when he dug the 3rd well, because no one fought with him, he called it Rehoboth. And he said, for now God has made room for us, and we shall be prosperous in this land. And God said, that's what I want to do for you and what I want to do for the children of the Cayman Islands. So I want you to start an after-school program. Told me exactly how he wanted me to do it, and he says, I want you to name it Rehoboth. And he has certainly kept his word. He has certainly blessed it, and he has certainly made us prosperous in this land. So that's how it got started, and it truly got started at a very special time in my life, age-wise and everything else, and I was probably going through my midlife crises, and so for God to have stepped in at that time, it was wonderful. I remember when I decided to start Rehoboth, I had no job, I had no money, I had no car. I really didn't have much of anything except my faith in my children. And so my eldest daughter, Gloria, she worked all summer. She was doing her first year at university, and she was home for the summer. And she got a job for the summer. I volunteered for the summer at the National Council's Voluntary Council's summer camp at the Georgetown Primary, so I didn't make any money. I didn't earn any money that summer, but she earned some money, and she took $2,000 out of the money that she earned when she was going back off to school, and she put it in my hand, and she says, Mom, you need to do what God told you to do. You need to start the after-school program. And so the after-school program was actually started on her $2,000 pocket money for when she went back off to university. And basically that's how it got started.
Yes. When you first started, how many children did you actually have enrolled?
When we first started, we had about maybe 7, if you counted my children, my sister's children, and so forth. So I had one son that attended, and my sister had 3 young daughters that attended, and so 7, that means there were 3 others that were there. Correct. And that's how we began. And the funny thing about it was that God told me that I needed to do a pickup service in order to bring the children together. He had a specific vision in mind. I mean, he was very specific in his details, and he says, I don't want this to be considered a welfare or a low, a poverty type of program. I want you to incorporate all aspects of Cayman society into this after-school program. So he says, I want you to go out and pick up students from all different primary schools in Georgetown. Well, that was a great idea, except for one thing, I had no transportation. So I wouldn't have been able to do it. And I spoke to my mom, who was driving a cab at the time, and I said, Mom, you know, the Lord told me that I need to pick up students from different schools. And she says, that's not a problem. She says, I will get off work, I will start work every day at 2, and you can have the van for about an hour, and you can go and pick up your students. And she was faithful every day. She'd stop working and she'd bring the van for me, and I'd go out to the different schools and pick up, and slowly but surely the numbers started to increase. Now, what was wonderful in Georgetown was that the children from Georgetown Primary, walking by, would look into the window and see that there was an activity going on in this building, and they became curious, and they would come in and say, excuse me, ma'am, what you doing here? You know, I say, well, we have an after-school program here. An after-school program? Well, what's that? I said, well, we're sitting here together and we're doing our homeworks and we're learning about one another and learning about the things of God. And they said, well, can I join? And kids signed themselves up into the program, and it just began to flourish. And within the first year, because we actually opened our doors in October of 1994, mm-hmm. And by the end of the school year in June of 95, we were probably up to about 22 children. And that was just the first year, and we've just had that kind of phenomenal success from the very inception of the program.
Yes, I remember when you first started, the actual location that you started in was where Mom first had her business,
yes.
Which we had Gloria's Variety Store.
Yes, that was another blessing from my mom. Everyone actually suffered a little bit and contributed a lot to the growth and success of Rehoboth Ministries. My mom not only giving up her transportation, but she gave us a spot in her building. And if perhaps we can get the cameras maybe on this a little bit. This is where Rehoboth Ministry was birthed, in this building. It's a 20 by 40 space.
Yes.
And when we moved out of it, we had 40 children in there each afternoon. So you can imagine how crammed we were. But we were very thankful to a number of people. Like I said, my mom gave us that space. She didn't charge us any rent. We were just responsible for utilities, light, water, and so forth. And so we were very blessed to have had her as one of our sponsors over the years.
Now, throughout the years, I know that you've had a number of larger companies and a lot of individuals who actually came on board and sponsored children. I know I recruited one for you from work.
Yes, you did.
And have you ever done any type of follow-up on some of the children that were sponsored, and where have they come to as far?
We have. We've had a number of citizens-sponsored children in the program. When Rehoboth first started, in order for us to stay alive and to operate, we found it necessary to go out to friends that we knew and solicit sponsorship. One of the sponsors, as you said, was your friend, Mr. Chris Hanai from yes. Black Coral Land. He sponsored a young lady, and Miss Corrine Glasgow sponsored 2 children. Sounds and Things, Mr. and Mrs. Piguero, they sponsored 3 children. the Lions of Tropical Gardens sponsored a child. And what we did was we actually gave them progress reports on their children. We would write progress reports and let them know how the children were getting along, how the program was changing that child or those children's lives. And we do follow-up. As a matter of fact, I think my greatest success story in my own heart is the fact that after caring for 3 children, one mother came back, and when the other 2 children were ready to go to school, brought them and says, Miss Beulah, you have to take my children because you have to do with them what you did with my others. And I think that really was a blessing for us, that people, after we have helped them to raise, one group would bring the second group in and say, we trust you with these as well, do your job on them. And that's what we do. A lot of times we take very angry children. We really take children that a lot of times have problems, social problems or academic problems, and we work with them. We believe in the power of prayer, and we definitely believe in the power of God to change. And we let children know that nothing is impossible to them, and no matter where they are today, it's only temporary, because we will, there is change. This too shall pass is our motto.
Correct.
So, you're having problems at home, this too shall pass. You're having problems in school, this too shall pass. Whatever, it's going to pass, and you're going to come out of it okay.
Right. Well, one of the other things I think as well that I find very intriguing is that you started this business, or Rehoboth Ministry, a ministry. It is a ministry because it's a gift from God, and He has given you the foresight to actually go out into the community, touch these children. But in the process of touching these children, you've managed to incorporate businesses, a lot of things that a lot of businesses that would not normally be associated with church and God, but for the betterment of the community you've been able to join and create a linkage, a kind of a brotherhood, sort of what Dr. Frank always talks about, that it takes a community to actually raise a child. And in doing so, our children now, I've watched so many of them grow. My daughter was a part of your program, and I know my son was a part of your program. My son now, university, daughter last year of high school, who also now turns around and works for you part-time as well. A number of other children who have gone through that program that I know come back and give you the summers, or they give you a computer class, and have just been able to continually touch lives. And it's just amazing to see how you've managed to bring everyone together as a community. Is this the vision that you started with, and is this where the goal, the orientation of the goal?
It really was not the vision I started with, and I say that because I think God understood that He wasn't to tell me everything at the very beginning, because I would probably have been overwhelmed with the magnitude of the ministry and the vision that He was actually giving me at the time. So He only allowed me to see a portion of it, but it developed. It has grown. We went from being just an after school to being an after school, and then the Meals on Wheels. I think we have some photos that we wanted to also show our guests about the Meals on Wheels program. That was the second program that we added to the ministry with the after school. The next one was the Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is now in Georgetown feeding almost 60 elderly persons a day, Monday to Friday. And there's a host of volunteers, and the people that have come on board for that has been really phenomenal. And the great part about it is, if we can get is that these are children from the after school, and this is on their day off from school. They have volunteered to take meals out. But this is the kind of caring that we instill in our children at the center. It's not all about us and what we need, but it's about giving to others what they need as well. And as you can see, the children are absolutely great with the elderly people in the community, and they were so happy to do it. After we finished delivering that day, we went off to Burger King and ate ourselves, and they played in the balls, and they had a wonderful afternoon. But they got, the reward was good for them because they understood that when you take care of someone else's needs, someone takes care of your need.
Correct.
And so it goes so that we're constantly moving help around, and no one is ever able to be without. That was a shot that was just up there, was our youth group, Youth with a Mission, which your daughter was a part of, that we started. Once we got into the larger building, we could go from younger children now to teens. So we started expanding our program also with the Meals on Wheels. Then we went to the youth program, and we expanded to the youth program. So we then had the younger children, 5 to 12, and then we had the older children, 13 to 17, and it just kind of grew. And besides that, children were now starting to have gone through the program, and they had moved on to high school, and they didn't want to
leave.
They didn't want to leave.
Yes, I do.
So they just started hanging around, and I'm like, you can't stay here. This is for little children. And they're like, Miss, we're not going anywhere. And so they would just come every day, and they would hang out. And then I'd say, well, if you're going to hang out here, you're going to have to do something constructive. So what do you want to do? And we would get into things like that, and then we started to develop a program. But they had as much in the development of the youth program as I had, the input, and they were absolutely great.
And if I'm also correct in remembering, you also started an adult learning program as well that you had in the evenings.
That's right.
I know a number of teachers would volunteer their times and come in, those for adults that had not finished high school or wanted to learn computers and other types that would help forward them in their job careers.
That's right. We decided that after working with the children, we found out that there were lots of needs in the homes. There were a lot of parents, for instance, that didn't help their children with homework because they could not because they didn't desire to. And so we decided to speak to the parents one-on-one and find out, and they said, yeah, sure enough, they were interested in learning something. And so we developed a program, an adult literacy program and a basic adult education program to fit the needs of the community. At one point, our one class had 38 students in it.
That's a lot.
And it ran 3 evenings a week. And that was quite a lot. And we found out that that was a bit more than we could really manage. So we've cut the classes back in size, and we've restructured. As a matter of fact, we're going through another restructuring right now because Rehoboth Ministries is a ministry that is developing. I think that what God intended for me to be able to do was to work in the community and actually find out what the community needs and develop a program specifically for our community. So this is not some program that's coming from England or some program that's coming from America or Canada, but this is a Caymanian program being designed specifically for the type of environment that we have here.
Correct.
And so it's been wonderful these 10 years. It truly has. To work at Rehoboth Ministries and to see how it is developed.
I also know that our mom is quite actively involved in the Meals on Wheels and a number of other programs. How many elderly people do you currently provide meals for?
Yeah, well, that would be 60. And the Meals on Wheels, the funny thing about Meals on Wheels was that my mom is a Christian, a born-again Christian, and she had a problem going to church on Sunday mornings and knowing that there were people that were not eating that day. And so she and a cousin of hers, Miss Jean Seymour, would wake up like 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, and they would cook for some of the elderly people that they knew of that were having a hard time and deliver those meals before they went to church at 10. And I think my mom probably burnt out 2 stoves, and then she just really got tired and the program kind of fell down. So when I had the opportunity to be able to add a second program to Rehoboth Ministries, it was the Meals on Wheels program. And ironically enough, the name wasn't Meals on Wheels when it began. The name was Bread from Heaven Ministry, and we did it in conjunction with Women's Aglow. But when the Rotary Club came and they really wanted to be a part of the program and they had the desire to see it grow, well, we talked it over and we decided to accept their name and partnership with them in bringing about the Meals on Wheels program. And that's why Meals on Wheels are in Cayman today. I mean, the Rotaries truly had a great vision there, and it has worked well. And many people, First Baptist Church, Grand Old House, have helped. They've cooked at times at their places, and so it has worked. It really has worked.
Okay. Well, some of the newer things now that you're actually beginning to get into, we know that you're tipping your foot into politics.
Yes.
That's something new. What other things does Beulah McField see herself doing?
Well, it truly has been an amazing 10 years, and I am putting my hat in the ring for politics. I'm taking that step, and I'm doing that because I believe that in 10 years, working daily in the communities, working with the children, working with the youth, working with the adults and the seniors, that I have come to understand some of the needs that our island has. I understand a lot of its strength. You know, I know that we are very strong people. We're resilient. We're not easily killed and downtrodden. You know, we're firm believers. We're faith-built people. We believe, and I think that in the Legislative Assembly, in government, they need more women.
Yes.
You know, firstly, I think they need more women. And next, I think they need women that are from the grassroots, that understand the particular problems that are going to plague our community, our society in the future. And I believe that I can stop some of these things from happening, that I see that is happening. I believe that I can make a change in the drug culture in the Cayman Islands if I'm elected. I believe that I can make a change in the care and the state of the elderly in the Cayman Islands if I'm elected. I believe I can make a difference to a lot of single parents because I understand their particular heartaches if I'm elected. Through legislation, through lobbying, through being able to speak with some of the ministers now. And I hope that when people vote, that they would vote party lines, because it will certainly bring about the uniformity of changes that this country truly needs, especially if the United Democratic Party is returned to government, because we still have a long way to go. There's a lot of things, there's many challenges, there's Constitution, there's immigration, there's education, there's tourism, you know, there's the ecology. There's so many things, and we really need to deal with them and get a grip on them right now. And there's especially the Caymanian workforce that truly you have to understand the dynamics of it. Yes. You have to have been in the trenches. You must have been a laborer to understand the particulars on it, and to have the heart and the soul and the strength to stand up and fight. You have to understand it, you know.
I do have a question for you. I am in the labor force.
Yes.
I've been out there 15 years on one job,
yes,
management level. Strong Caymanian woman, raised 2 kids. And the one thing that we do find out there that I would love for people to address, we'd love our politicians to actually take a look at, is that getting ahead in Cayman is not an easy thing for a woman in a man's society, first off. We have to be 10 times as good as them. We have to be 5 times more educated than them, and we have to outthink them by 20 times. But the thing that is obvious, and it's out there, and a number of us that are out there who have been managers from our mid-20s and have been in town and held our own out there, and as for a long time single mothers, is the fairness. There is still an unfairness that does seem to, it's an underlay of unfairness. Technically, I think the biggest problem that most workers have is that we are there. We know the business inside out. We do all the physical work. We do all the layman's babysitting of a manager's duty, because managers, technically, we babysit.
Yes.
We have all of the problems of every employee. And as women, we're more sentimental, so we kind of see with things, we try to figure things out, we try to stay 10 steps ahead of our employees. The kids need picking up, the baby's sick. You know, there are a lot of things that go on a job site, trying to keep that balance. But for some reason, we're never seen as being qualified enough.
Well, that is a definite problem, and we addressed that, Dr. Frank and I, on one of the other programs, because he's just brought in the Convention for Gender Equity and Equality. And that is definitely a problem, but not just here in the Cayman Islands, unfortunately. It's a problem everywhere. What we need to do to address that problem is we need to understand that an honest day's labor is an honest day's labor, no matter who's performing it. And it should be equal pay for equal work. And women or men should be able to get up, and if they go on the job, they should be able to be seen for what they can do, not who they are. And I think it's a major problem that we no longer, or that we are still in the 21st century now. We're in this 21st century, and we're still treating women like we were back in the 18th century. We're still treating women like they were cattle. And we're still saying to them that you don't belong in the workplace. And women do, because, I mean, God gave me the vision of Rehoboth Ministries, and I've been managing Rehoboth Ministries for the last 10 years. You have been managing on your job place. You've been a manager for 15 years.
Correct.
And for someone to say at this point in time that you are not the best person for the job, or to think that they would need to bring a man in over you, is really an insult to your integrity and your intelligence. And these things have to be changed. And I believe that if I'm elected, that I would work very hard on legislation that would change that. One of the things also is that you're not the only one. There's so many women in the Cayman Islands. Women of great integrity that I know, that worked hard, that began right out of high school at the tender age of 17 to work in the bank, have given the banks 20, 25 years faithfully. And now they're being displaced because of downsizing and just the movement of people because of the liability of having an older person, someone with that amount of seniority on the job. These things have to be addressed. And we need to do that. We need to also be able to take a look at the employer's point of view and weigh everything on the balance, so that when we make changes, that we're not out of balance. We're not more on one side than we are on the other, but we're doing it in a fair and equitable way that we can bring this about. But I think that is the case. I mean, one reason I'm fighting right now in politics, and even within my party I fight, is because even in politics is a man's game. You know, it's the good old boys club, and so you come in there. But I believe with my disposition, because I have God and I'm Christ-centered, I am not here to necessarily rock the boat. I don't have any great ego that I need to feed. I've been a single mother. I know what it is to care for others more than I do for myself. That's an easy job. But I am here to bring about the change. I'm here to bring about the change within the United Democratic Party, and I'm definitely here to bring about a change within the Cayman Islands, and all of it, looking at labor, the whole aspect of it, looking at the gender, looking at single parents and how hard it is for a single woman at work when she's the only one that's managing her household, and her child is sick at school, and her boss is demanding something be finished now, and she's torn between, do I let my child stay at school sick, or do I finish the job that my boss has given me? She's conscientious about her job, and she's conscientious about her family, and she's torn. And we need to bring a balance to this place. And I really believe that it needs to begin in the Legislative Assembly. We need better legislation to deal with women problems in the Cayman Islands. And that's why I'm putting myself forward as a candidate, because I believe that I understand the dynamics, and I do have a plan. I have a way forward.
That sounds very promising. Very promising. If Beulah McField could say one thing to the young children of Cayman, what would you most emphasize on?
If I could say that one thing, I would have to say the same thing I said to my daughter probably about 15 years ago now when she was graduating from high school. And I said to her, Gloria, it's time that you seriously consider what battle you want to fight. And she says, Mommy, why do I need to fight any battles? You fought them all. Your generation fought them all in the 60s. There are no battles left to fight. And there are always battles left to fight, I told her. Mm-hmm. And now she understands that. So I would say to these young children, decide what battles you want to fight. Not every battle is worth fighting, but there is a battle that each of us needs to fight within ourselves and within our community and society. And you're never too young to focus and say, where can I make a difference? And to find that place and to make that difference, even as a small child. We need to do it. We need to bring our children back. We need to create leaders in this country, you know. And so when our country is flooded with workers, we don't have to feel afraid, and because we know our positions, we know our place, we know where we belong, because we have created strong leaders, and so they're self-confident and they're secure in who they are, and that's what we need to do. And so we need to, you know, help children to become secure from very young age in who they are, that they're not intimidated by growth and development, but they are challenged by it to continue to grow themselves.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. The other thing is, we've discussed a lot of things here tonight. We've discussed Rehoboth, and we've discussed your Meals on Wheels. We've discussed your teen program. There is the new center, the Arthur
H. Martin Creative Empowerment Youth Center. I keep saying the name is larger than the program, but really it isn't. It's a fantastic program.
Yes. I went by there this evening, and you have a whole new studio. I was awed. I hadn't been there since November. And I walked in and I looked around and I was like, what happened?
We have a sound engineer that's in there that's actually very particular about the way things are. And the studio, as it was designed by one sound engineer who was a Caymanian, but who didn't take the job at the end of the day. He didn't step up for the job. We kept the job open for him for over 2 months. And he didn't come out to take the job. We called him, made many appointments, but he didn't come out. So we had to find someone else. We found a gentleman, and his way of doing things were different. So we've taken out the entire studio, gutted the entire studio, and began afresh. Mm-hmm. And so we have a new studio now that is really, as you can see, state-of-the-art, incredible studio. And we are hoping to get great work out of there, and we're ready to begin working again.
Okay, so it will be open now again for school.
It will be open again for school. And it's not just open for school, it's open for all musicians. This is the picture here of the Arthur Martin Creative Empowerment Center. And as you can see, the youth are outside with percussion instruments. And they're just outside making music. And actually, the community started to come out and watch them as they played their percussion instruments out there. But we're encouraging musicians everywhere to go by and take a look. This is located behind Funky Tangs on Martin Drive, 41 Martin Drive. We're inviting you to go out and take a look at our studios and see if perhaps, you know, we'll be able to do something for you. This is a beautiful young lady there behind the mic. And she is a part of our logo for the studio. I think she captures the essence of what the studio is all about, bringing out the heart and the soul of the young musicians. That's what we're about. This is a picture here of the opening of the Arthur Martin Creative Empowerment Center. The governor was a part of it. He was so moved by what we were trying to do there that I tell you, he was very close to tears. It was truly a memorable day for us all. Yeah.
It's actually quite unbelievable that so many of your visions have come to pass,
yeah.
so to say. In doing all of this and the full package of Beulah, is Beulah pleased with Beulah?
I am. I'm very pleased with who I am. I don't know that I have always been pleased with who I am, but I know that today I'm very pleased with who I am. I'm pleased with the product that God has made me. I'm pleased with the fact that I care about others. I'm pleased with the fact that sacrifice means nothing to me at this time, that I hold nothing in such high esteem that I would not leave it to follow whatever the call was that I was called to do and whatever battle I was called to fight. I remember some days when I first started Rehoboth Ministries, I remember some days going home and my lights would be off or my water would be off because I couldn't pay my bills. And I would think to myself, God, did you really call me to do this? Because if you call me to do this, why is it so hard? And I would just suffer through and persevere. And it came to pass. I remember when I would go and get part-time jobs so I could put money into Rehoboth Ministries, and people always said to me, well, why are you making it a nonprofit? Why are you making it a ministry? Why don't you just, and I thought, but this is what God wants me to do. So it's not always about making money. I have been able to get a salary from Rehoboth, and that has been a blessing. But even if I hadn't, I'd still be working at it. I'd still be doing it. I'd be going someplace else, finding a job and throwing more money into it because I see what it does for the lives of the people that came on it, how it has improved it. We have a program called the Youth Enterprise System, and that is an especially program that's close to my heart. What this program does actually is it takes young offenders and it gives them the opportunity to use their skills to employ themselves, and we fund it. This particular place is an elderly old lady's house, an amputee, and her bathroom was basically falling apart. Her ramp was too small for her wheelchair, and so we got a group of young men, and they went out there and they redid her bathroom and they redid the ramp and widened it so that she was able to use it for her wheelchair for access in and out of her house. But these are the kind of programs that we do. We also had, along with this, we also able to do the thing when we went to Cuba.
Yes.
That we took the musicians. Now, my goodness, that was a challenge for me because I'm a Christian and basically I don't go into nightclubs or anything else. But this is where, again, you start to look at the need of someone else above yourself. And this young man, Big J, Jeffrey Seymour, is such a talented young man. He is so fantastic. He needs to be encouraged. He went to Cuba and he was a sensation. I mean, he was a star. They went all around trying to get his autograph for him, and he had a wonderful time. It was a great exposure for him. We also took In Transit. And you'll see some of the guys from In Transit there with the lady in the middle. She's a journalist in Cuba, and she did a big piece on the musicians there, and that's our booth there in Cuba. But these are all things that we were able to do and do successfully. We won an award for the most popular booth. Our booth was never empty, I must say. people just found us fascinating. They found our display fascinating. We did a timeline on the music of the Cayman Islands, starting from the 1920s all the way to the present day, and it was very interesting. People loved it.
How many people were in your group that actually traveled to Cuba with you?
In transit was 7 musicians, Big J and his family, his wife and his son. My sister Verda traveled with us. Mario traveled with us. He's the gentleman from the studio, and myself.
Okay.
And then the minister and my mom met us later on in Cuba during the course of the time. But it was incredible. And the fact of the matter is that we were the smallest delegation, but we were the most powerful. So it's not always about numbers.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes when people say, but Cayman is so small, we're not ready for this, or we shouldn't do that. It's not always about numbers, and it's not always about size. It's about what God wants to see happen at a particular time, and His being able to bless and empower it to succeed and to prosper. And that's all we need to know. Are we in the will of God? That's all we need.
Right. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
So it's wonderful to be able to see other people develop, because Rehoboth Ministries have developed a number of people. Being 10 years old now, we have a lot of our students that have graduated high school already, and it's wonderful to see what they're doing with their lives, and it's incredible. They'll come back for resumes, or they'll come back for reference, or they'll come back just for advice. What do you think I should do? And it's great to see, and they're doing well. They're doing well.
And do you think now that they are blossoming and going out on their own, in a lot of their choices in life, how much of Rehoboth and what you've instilled, the values, have you seen them take forth with them?
Oh, we've seen them take forth those things, and they contemplate on what they learned at Rehoboth Ministries, how God's character should be the character that they always seek to display, as opposed to any other type of character. Like I said, we had children that were very angry, children that fought a lot, children that just had a lot of problems with self-esteem. And God's character is able, if you're able to take that on yourself, it's able to dispel all of that. And we've seen that happen in our young people, and we're very thankful that God has given us that privilege to be able to touch those lives, those young lives.
Yes, I've seen, I think, I'd say I've seen one at the bank, one at Customs. I know 2 have gone on to community college. They've done well.
University.
50, yeah, off to the States to school.
And we don't ever stop. We will continue to work with them in getting them scholarships. We go through the whole process with them. We never leave them. You know, we continue with them, and we plan to continue with them through life, you know, to make sure that the things that they need in their lives are there, and the help that they need, and the guidance that they need. And when they need a place to give back to, we plan to be there to take, you know, their services, accept their help. And so that it's a cycle.
Revolving cycle.
It's a revolving cycle.
Right.
So you're always giving and taking and giving and giving and taking. So it works well. And that's the kind of Cayman that we really want to see. You know, I think sometimes that people are afraid of the number of people that are in Cayman. But if we will just learn to teach others who we are as Caymanians, and help them to assimilate into our culture, that we would find that we would be developing a better Cayman, rather than assimilating ourselves, letting ourselves be taken into foreign culture, but allowing that foreign culture to blend with ours and to be a part of ours, while ours being the dominant culture. Yes. I think we should maintain that. I think that is necessary, because God made us very special people indeed.
Yes, He did. Yes, He did.
He did. He made us a very special people. We're a very special and unique group of people.
Very diverse people.
Very diverse people. Very diverse people.
Yes. On the topic now of the other there's another program that I wanted to just kind of find out a little bit more about, and it's at the Arthur Martin Center. From what I understand, you also do prepare people to take their GEDs,
Yes, we
and
do.
so on.
Yes, we do.
Want to elaborate on that a little for you?
We have a computer lab there that is that has 5 computers, 6 computers, and what we've been doing is we've been teaching the GED. But there's a GED program that's online that you're able to work with online. And so we've been working with that to get them on there because they're able to do mock tests online, and it has helped them. And we're preparing. We're now there's a lady that's brought the GED back to the Cayman Islands, and she's offering it through the CCC school.
Mm-hmm.
So our course of action this year is to prepare a certain number of students to take that course at CCC. We will walk them all the way through it, through the taking of the test and so forth, until they have received their GED. There are a number of young ladies, especially, that were interested and that were taking the course with us, and we want to, and for whatever reason, you know, sometimes people become discouraged. We want to encourage them to come back, the ones that dropped out of the program, to bring them back into the program and get them back on there, because that's what we're about. I am about developing human resources. I believe in that the greatest resources that a nation has is its people. And when your people are underutilized, then the country must fail. So I believe in empowering people so that the country as a whole will be better able to cope with the difficult times that are ahead. And I believe there are difficult times ahead, not just for the Cayman Islands, but in the world in general. And I think if we prepare our youth, we wouldn't have as much problems with drugs. If we educated them a bit more, found diverse means of educating them, because not everyone learns in the same environment, you know?
No, they don't.
So we need to figure out where you learn, and we need to create that environment for you so that not one is left behind, not one is lost.
The one thing also, with being a manager in town, I have 3 managers under me. I have 21 sales staff and 10 carvers. The one thing that I have noticed, and I was wondering if any of your programs will ever pursue this, to get the people who come out to apply at a younger age, they don't quite understand a lot of the trends of working, I should say, what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
They're not very customer oriented. They don't understand what the expectations of an organization is actually wanting. They don't understand that it is a trade. I pay you, you give me service.
Yes. Actually, it's wonderful that you would even mention that, because that is a course that we are undertaking to develop for this coming year, is to give people job preparedness, where we prepare them for the workplace in their ethics, what their expectations are, office policies and procedures, workplace policies and procedures, as much as we understand and able to prepare them on a generalized area, office machinery. We're able to train them for applications and how to fill out applications, how to interview, how to dress for an interview, these kind of things. And so this is a course that we are preparing for September as well. So we have thought of that.
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of people actually think about those things, what we look for when we interview. But it would be helpful if it were something. I think it would prepare them more for what they come out there, and then what the expectations are of them.
That's right.
The other thing that I was wondering as well is for those that are already in the workforce that need to freshen up on a few classes that really can't afford to take the time to do a 12-month course. Are there any programs in the works for people that would like to come back and maybe just take a basic course that's not too expensive, because I do know through Rehoboth Ministries you don't have to pay the $500 for a course, seminar, and so forth.
Yeah, we've been doing that for a number of years. This is something that is standard at Rehoboth Ministries, is that if, for instance, an adult wants to come and wants to freshen up, wants to learn the computers, wants to maybe learn a few of the softwares, the Word, the Excel, and so forth, they can come in at the Arthur Martin Center and they can learn these projects. We're also looking to develop classes that will deal with other areas like mathematics and English in itself, and develop those programs. We had a very wonderful gentleman, great educator, give us a quote on his services, and we were able to secure the money, and we have the monies now, and we're going to be able to bring him online also this coming fall. So we're looking at a great fall, God's willing. Everything in God's hands and in His timing, you know. But we have looked at that, and that's, like I say, one of the things that Rehoboth Ministries does. It meets the needs. It's always out there in the community. It is always developing to meet the needs as they arise in the community, always. So that is one thing. And you know, we want to continue. I pray, my heart prays that Rehoboth will continue again for many, many years. And as I am starting to step off into the world of politics, I have been turning more and more of Rehoboth Ministries over to other younger people that are coming in, and that is what I intend to continue to do until the majority of the work is turned over to someone else, and I can truly focus on developing legislation and policies that will guide our country and into the future. I think that as more and more hotels come to the Cayman Islands, as more and more businesses, insurance companies, and I think we should welcome them. I don't think we should be afraid to grow. I think what we should decide is the purpose of our growth, and who exactly our growth is intended to benefit, and to what degree. These are things that we need to sit down and think about, and then go from there.
Correct.
And so we will have a managed growth rather than just an unmanaged explosion of growth that brings such a terrible burden upon our social fabric and basically our infrastructure as well. So we need to look at things like that.
So for Beulah McField, the next, say, 5 years would basically be to develop all these things, to kind of pass it along to the children so that they can then in turn be the next generation to kind of just be aware,
Yes.
to kind of feel,
Yes.
to use God
That's the
in
center.
to continue to keep God, as Caymanians have always held God in high esteem, to lead the house,
That's right.
to do a number of those things. And in 5 years, what does Beulah want to do? That'll wrap it up.
In 5 years, what do I want to do? I want to continue to grow. I would like to think that in 5 years, after spending 4 years of those 5 years as a member of the Legislative Assembly, I will be planning my second term. I will be planning my campaign for my second term and looking at ways that I can continue to be of service to the Cayman Islands, because I truly believe that a representative, an elected representative, is a servant of the people. And I'm good at that because God taught me how to serve. You know, He taught me how to be a servant. So I will be serving you as your MLA for Georgetown for the next 4 years, and then planning my fifth. And working towards that, and working very, very closely with the people in the community so that I never lose touch. I'm always able to hear what their grievances are and work with them in bringing about a solution. And that is what I'm planning to do. You know, I hope people would also take a look at people's ethics when they're determining how they're going to vote and not be fooled by people. What a person does is who a person is. And so we need to look at people's ethics when we go into that, because it's important that we figure out exactly what direction we want to go. It's important that we remember and we retain God as our center. It's important that we give our children role models that are worthy to be called role models, that will really truly develop character and integrity in our children. And that's important. It's important for how the workplace is going to look at us in the future. So these are things that I feel that we really need to look at. And we're getting ready to go into our primary for the United Democratic Party, and I'm getting ready for that right now. I've offered myself as a candidate, and we're going to do our primary runoff where we'll elect our candidates for the coming election. So I am hopeful. I have faith. I trust.
I am hopeful as well.
Yes.
And we do want to wish you a lot of Godspeed. I won't say luck. I don't believe in luck. Blessings. I think you'll do very well. I think that the Cayman Islands would be proud to have you as a candidate. We've been proud to have you at Rehoboth. We've been proud in everything that you've done so far. And I think it would be an honor to have you as one of the members, as a conscious female view that also remembers God. Yes. Which is quite rare these days, quite rare. Yes. But we look forward to that, definitely.
Definitely, and I look forward to it. And we're down to our last 2 minutes, so I just want to close up, and I just want to close by saying that I'm asking the people of the Cayman Islands, especially the voters of Georgetown, to consider me, seriously consider me. Look at my assets. Look at who I am. Look at where I've been. Look at what I do. Look at what I believe. And if your beliefs are in line with mine, if you would have done what I have done had you had the opportunity, if you find that I'm a woman of integrity, then vote for me. Give me your vote. Elect, when November 17th comes, go into that booth and let God be your conscience and give me a vote, definitely. And also, we want to say that, we are going to be back on Public Eye on the next Thursday, the second Thursday of the month of September. Dr. Frank will be back, and we, again, look forward to coming into your home and sharing this time with you. And we say God bless you and good night.
Public Eye has been brought to you by the New Vision Movement.